it's Yamina. I hope everyone is doing well. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the time how I learned to play a part of a song, but how I didn't keep it up. And I learned how to play it on the piano. So, the way I'm going to do my stories from now on is I'm not going to talk about, like, say, backstory. I'm going to just tell the story the way I normally would tell a story. Because even though I love backstories, and when storytime YouTubers do that, like, I don't want to make that the way I speak, because that's not how I speak. So, going into the story, I'm going to get to how I learned a part of a song on the piano, and then I didn't keep it up later. So, let's see. In my late teens, I went to a writing camp for about 3 or 2 years in a row physically, and then the last year that I attended, it was online only, and that was during my college year because I wasn't able to afford to travel all the way from where I was living in college to the East Coast easily, so they made it accessible for me online. So 3 or 2 of the times that I went to the National Book Foundation's writing camp, I was selected amongst people who what's the word? We basically had to fit criteria to enter, so we had to enter a contest basically and be chosen or not chosen to go to this camp based on the bodies of work that we sent to them, and then our personal information, like a little bit of our personal information, and then we were picked. And then from then on, they tended to select people to go to the camps who had already previously been to their camps. And they did have new people coming in, but they also gave preference to people who had already been to the camp and then who continued to write after the fact and continue to produce new works after going to the camp. So they would give preference to those people. So I was able to go multiple times. And the National Book Foundation is a publishing company. They also give annual book awards to different genres of books. And then they also have a writing camp for people from their teens into their 60s or 70s. And what they tend to do is with the writing camps, they bring in authors from different genres, different diverse backgrounds, and those authors are basically the workshop holders. They hold workshops for us in groups, in smaller groups, so that we can learn different tricks and ways of expressing ourselves in our writing throughout the camp time. And it's for a full week. And even though the Book Foundation, I believe, was established in New York City, they would bus us out, they would fund us and bus us out to Massachusetts. I know for a fact we went at least 1 or 2 years to Massachusetts, but I can't remember. I think we went to a different location the first year that I went, and then we ended up going to a new location the second year that I went, and we went there 2 times. I feel like I went 3 times. Anyway, so we went to the writing camp in Massachusetts, and it was a lot of fun. And one of the years I went, I feel like I was 18 maybe at the time. I met a young lady my age, and she knew how to play the piano. And there was a piano in one of I think it was, we were at a college campus when we went to this writing camp. So the college campus had like a lot of things that college campuses have. They have a cafeteria, they have a snack place. The snack place had a piano and some other things. So she taught me how to play a little bit of Für Elise on the piano. That's by Beethoven. And the part that she taught me how to play, I'm going to give it to you right here. It was so I think that's most of the part that she taught me how to play, maybe a little bit more. I forget. I think it was a minute or 2 worth of playtime that she taught me how to play on the piano. And I remembered it for a good few years. So I was 18 at the time, and I think in my early 20s I had forgotten how to finish playing it. So by the time I was few years out of college, I had forgotten how to play it. But anyway, so for the time being, I knew how to play that particular part of For Elise. And when I got back home after learning how to play that and remembering it and like getting access to a piano, I like played it a few more times, and I even recorded myself on a cassette tape so that I could remember how it sounded. And like that's always been one of my favorite songs. She I don't know how we had the conversation for her to teach me that part. I don't remember if I liked that song before she taught it to me or if I liked it after she taught that to me, but that's become one of my favorite Beethoven songs, even though I like a lot of his stuff. And like I said, I recorded myself playing on a cassette. And before I moved in with my grandparents during my college years, I had played that cassette for them, and they were like, "Oh, you should get piano lessons. You should look into piano lessons." But I never did when I was still back home in New York City. And when I moved to my college campus, during my year, I stayed at college for 4 years, and if I had wanted to graduate, I probably would have had to do another year and a half. That's a story for another time that I'm literally going to tell. But I did 4 years of college and then I left, and turns out during the time that I was on my college campus, we had access, everybody that either worked there or went to school there, admin, professors, maintenance, all of those, and then students, we all had access to a music room, a music building that had pianos in one piano per room in a soundproof room that we could actually play the piano. We just had to sign up in the room, and as long as that piano room was not allotted for someone at a particular time and it was free to use, like you could just use it for that time frame. If it did have somebody designated for a certain time slot, you had to like give up the room. But yeah, we had access, and I think one time one of my friends took me to that location. That's how I found out about it, and I was able to like fool around on the piano and play that part that I had learned. And so I think I found that out my 4th year on the campus when I was just about to leave. And I didn't fully leave because I ended up working on campus for about 4 more years after I left the college. I worked at 2 different locations, but because I worked there mostly during the evenings, it was usually dark most nights, especially after summertime. Like in the wintertime and in the late fall, it was going to be dark after work. So I typically just went home as soon as I was done with work, and I actually got out of work, one of my jobs, at like 5 or 6, and then the other one I would get out at like 7 or 8. So I balanced my time between both of the jobs, and then I ended up working at the later job for a longer period of time than the other job. And yeah, so I just ended up forgetting all about the piano area, the music room area altogether, and I had access to it basically for like 8 or 9 years, and I didn't use that access that I had, and I'm disappointed about that because I did forget how to play that little bit of For Elise. And I have looked into musical lessons, voice lessons, and different things, but I never like fully followed up with it. And yeah, so I don't remember how to play that anymore, and I have been around pianos since then, but there's a piano at the library, but they don't allow people to play it unless they have an allotted time frame that they're like having a performance, having a lesson, having a workshop of some kind that they're supposed to use a piano. They even have a children's time when they use a piano. But typically, like, they don't allow regular patrons to use the piano, which is unfortunate because I would have long learned how to remember how to play that part if they would have allowed that. So yeah, so I learned how to play that little part of For Elise by Beethoven, and then over the years I have forgotten how to play that, and it's disappointing, but it's not something that can't be rectified at some point. So I will get access to some kind of piano at some point and like fool around with it and see if I can remember how to play it. But yeah, beautiful song, so much beautiful music to try to recreate and play. So hopefully I'll get to do that at some point. But that's my little story. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later. Okay? Bye. Okay.